Many of us here, like, I mean, let me not speak for you guys, but I'm one of the people by Nongore. I want to see my career as a long-term thing, and not just as something that I'm doing for a few years. I want to be able to still be doing this in 20 years' time, maybe 30 if I'm blessed enough. But I just want to be able to have the longevity. And we've seen many artists come in and go into the industry very quickly, some of them. Some of them even having great hits, having achieved some sort of good success, especially early, but not really being able to stay in the game for as long as these two legendary figures have been. And I want us to get a bit into that. Let me start with you, Vinny, with regards to longevity just in general as a DJ, as an artist. What are some of the things that really, are important when it comes to staying long in the game? Chakara.
1, 2. Eta, Le Grand. Sure. Let's see. I think that question. Look, I mean, personally, when I started back in, I think it was late 80s, early 90s, we didn't have a million DJs then. So it was just a few of us doing what we love. And it was a hobby. It was not a career at the time. I was just doing it because I just love the music. I love good music. And at the time, it was not even about house music. I used to play hip-hop. I used to play R&B. I used to play everything. So for me, it was like, I love this thing, and I didn't know where it was going to take me. And I think all it means to stay long in this game, and also think about what I just said, that when we started, it was just a few DJs in South Africa. So I'm thinking it's more about the love of the music, the love of the culture, the love of what we were doing at the time. I mean, for me, getting into a club and just playing music, for me, that was like, it gave me so much pleasure. And to see people smiling on the dance floor while I'm playing a new record that nobody knew. I mean, maybe I just bought it today and just play it, and somebody just raises their hand and picks you up. For me, that's power, man. Nothing can take. You can't take that anyway from me, or from, I'd say, that vibe when it's happening at that time. Nobody can take that away from you. And yeah, I mean, I've always been, people say that I'm humble. Yes, be humble, and just love the culture, love the music, and put an effort into everything that you do. When you get on behind those decks, whether you're playing to 4 people or to 1,000 people, give it the best that you can, Don't get to a club and say, how empty, so I can't do much, Give it your best. You never know who's listening at that time. Maybe one of the 4 guys could be some promoter from another venue, another area. They see what you do, they like what you do. But at the end of the night, when you leave, contacts are shared, and then there you have. You got a booking the next day or the next week. So yeah, I think it's about the passion, the love, and dedication into everything.
Cool. And Master G, are there things in your journey that could have caused you not to continue with this journey, that were, either challenges or just anything that could have been an obstacle that might have caused you not to continue with the journey, but you still did?
Good afternoon, guys. Sanibonani, Nhlekani, Minjani. Kona. Look, in 1987, my mom decided to send me to a boarding school in Ganyani. The reason being, in 1986, there were problems in Gauteng, and we never wrote our final exams. So my mom wanted me to, do better, and I also wanted to do better in my studies. I'm one person who has always pictured himself in an office environment, retire, and all those things, and then carrying that executive case. So I never hesitated to go to Limpopo in 1987 because I really wanted to do well. So, and I think it was a blessing in disguise because this is where I think my music career was launched. Because this is where I met, different guys, from different areas. And I still remember this guy, his name is Lloyd. He's now popular known as Dos Santos. He stays in Tembisa. He used to get, his music from the late Josie. I think some of you know him. May his soul rest in peace. So I personally used to play a lot of R&B, a lot of R&B as well as funk music. That is what I used to collect back then. I never, had access to house music, but back then we never called it house music. We used to call it international or American disco. We understand that. So this is where I was exposed to that kind of music at boarding school, from this guy Lloyd. So funny enough, he also liked the stuff that I was playing, funk and R&B. So we exchanged. So I never waited, to go back home, to play this music, to my friends and colleagues, the guys that I used to hang around with before I went to a boarding school. Now, going back to your question, growing in Soweto was never easy. I think some of you do know how rowdy Soweto was back then. You'll be having people dancing, the next thing, the gunshots, and then people are killed, And there was a time when there was this thing by Bizai jack rolling, you understand? Whereby guys will just come in here and then they back a kumbi outside and then they just check girls they want, Those are some of the things, those are some of the obstacles that I had to overcome, Those are some of the things that could have, put, a stop to my DJing career. So I never stopped. And the reason why I never stopped is because I believed in what I was doing, I had that dedication in my craft, do you understand? So just like my colleague has said, Vinny, you must have the love and passion of what you do. Because if you have that, nothing will ever discourage you. You will overcome each and every hurdle that you come across. So those things are very important. So I never gave up because I had that. I never got into this coincidental, but it's because of the love and the passion of my craft.
Yeah, and I think like also what I've noticed is that even if things are not really nice in terms of money, if things are not easy, but when you do have love for something, when you do enjoy doing something, you can almost always continue doing it, because at some point things might get better. Pravini, like what I've noticed with you, and similarly with Master G, and many of the guys who have stayed the longest in this industry, there is something about you guys connecting with younger people. Like you would hang around with people who have just gotten into the industry. Sometimes I would hang with you, what does being amongst younger people, how does that, make your stay fresh in the industry?
I think, as much as I've been doing this for these years, so many years, I feel like people think that I know everything, meanwhile I don't, So I could meet a young guy or a young DJ producer out there at a club. Maybe I just finished playing. And I think the one thing that I've always said, that people, when you come to talk to me, so be your approach, I can see. But if you come rushing and being aggro, aggressive, whatever, obviously I'm going to turn away. But if you come to me and say, Eita, Shobra, Vinny, yes, then I'll give you your time. And sometimes, or most of the time, when I do that, I find out that, I'm learning something at that time. I mean, a lot of the young DJs that I've met over the years, they've taught me some things, whether they know it or not, but I've learned one or two things from them. And obviously that always keeps my drive. The drive is always there. I'm like, wow, so Lesejo can do this, the CDJ. And I've never done that before in my life. So, and I'll ask. I mean, for me, I'll ask. I'm like, yo, Lesejo, I saw you doing some loop thing there. How do you do it? And obviously, Lesejo would be like, oh, so you don't know what a loop function is? I'm like, yes, I don't. I'm being honest. But because I spoke to Lesejo on that day, when I get home, I'll look at the CDJ. I'm like, okay, I've seen that thing. Let me see how it works. I've learned one thing or two. And I'll take that and maybe even make it, use that function even better because I love that thing. And for me, yes, I like to interact with people. I'm one of those DJs, when I get to a venue, I'll play at 8 o'clock. But even if you come at 12 o'clock, you'll find me in the club. Why am I not home? Because I'm enjoying the vibe. I'm enjoying the conversations that I'm getting there. Because I've seen some people, they get there, they play, they get out. Yes, not necessarily that they run into another gig, but maybe they're not feeling that vibe, or maybe they just don't want to be there. And hence, I'm talking about the passion of the culture, the game. So if I don't have a gig today and Master G is playing somewhere else, I'm like, okay, G is playing that side. Let me go check him out, And he'll be surprised, oh, Vinny, you're here, okay, cool. That's it. And for me, I know that him seeing me, even not necessarily on the dance floor, I don't necessarily dance, but even if I'm chilling there on the couch or whatever, for me, for him, I'm sure he's like, at least one of my guys is here. You know what I mean? So I think we need to, in this game, we share, we interact, even if you come to me and say, Vinny, I know you work at House Africa, blah, 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 what does it take to make a compilation or whatever. So we'll have a conversation right there. And you see, I've shared my experience, my knowledge, and it's up to you what to do. We are here right now because we're sharing conversations, we're sharing knowledge.
Yes. What I like about you guys, I must stop saying you guys, about especially the legendary DJs, and people who've been the longest in the industry. When Master G has a party, you would be there. You see Oskido there. Similarly, when you have a party, you would invite different DJs. Yesterday, I was talking about people attending this workshop, the Dance Music Summit, talking about networking amongst one another, and making friends right here, because the person sitting next to you 10 years later might be the biggest producer producing for somebody else, but you made that contact early. How good is it, Master G, or how important is it to really preserve relationships with people in your industry?
For me, it's in two ways. Let me first start with the question that you posed to Vinny about working and interacting with the youth. I get a lot of communication, from the youth, especially go social media, via inboxes, But I must admit, some of them are just a bit, disrespectful, You find a 19-year-old calling you, hey, bruh, something like that. And I say, and to think my eldest daughter is 25, and I've got this young man calling me, hey, bruh, the others call you, hey, dude, listen, dude, do you understand? And I get offended, and I think it's because of I'm old school, do you understand? But we just have to be honest, as much as they can call you, hey, bruh, hey, dude, most of them are talented. They need people like ourselves, to give them proper guidance. I think me interacting with youth, it's one of the things that kept me grounded, in the industry for quite some time, because of me being in the law, being, in the industry for such a long time, and them coming up with, fresh ideas, so if you combine the two, you will always, that will always be a success. Yeah. So I enjoy, working with the youth because of such. They always come up with fresh ideas, and Ronaldo, we repent him one year, I understand that, So, you look at someone like Demogal, sometimes, in fact, most of the time I ask him, what is happening, in the industry? All those things, because they are the ones who spend a lot of time on internet and all those things, you understand? But then, you also spoke of the legends, being, supportive, of each other. Yes, it is true. And it's something that just came up natural. It's not something that we sat down and planned. As guys, as legends or as guys that have been in the industry for quite some time, we must be supportive, we must do A, B, C, and D and all this. It just happened, like naturally. That is why that bond is so strong, do you understand? I know every time Vinny has got something, I'm a phone call away. So if Vinny, I'm expecting a call, even if he doesn't call me, I will call him and say, Muna, I know it's your birthday, in a month's time, and then you quiet, you quiet. What is happening? Same applies to Oskido, do you understand? So it is important. We exchange ideas. We all have different ways of tackling problems. We all have different ways of doing things. Do you understand? So for me, it is important. Once in a while we meet up and then we discuss. Things that are happening in the industry and all those things. So for me, that's what is important.
Yeah, and Bravini, like one of the things that I've seen about you as well, when it comes to the way you handle yourself on social media, even just as a person, I've never seen you complaining about anything on social media. I've never seen you saying anything bad about another person. That kind of presence on social media, like that sometimes we young people, we take for granted, why is it so important for you to keep your brand and to keep your social media presence clean?
Look, as a brand, you need to keep it clean. Let me put it that way. Keep it tidy, clean. Doesn't mean that I don't get angry. There's a whole lot of things that are happening out there, especially on social media, that I hate. But a friend of mine just said to me, but you know what? Because you've got the respect that you need, maybe you need to say something. And I'm like, I've seen, if you say something, then you're opening up yourself to a whole lot of shit, basically, all over. Because now, the 19-year-old that Ganyani was talking about, he's going to come in there, right? Yeah. And then that's another story on its own. Now it's like, Vinny, what trend? What trend guy? Because somebody said this and Vinny said that. I mean, is that really important? No, I don't think so. Yes, I do get angry, and sometimes I feel like I need to say something, but I'm like, it will deal with him. Whatever that he or she is saying about something about, even if it's me, even if they're talking about me, I'm like, oh, okay. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes angry, but I'm like, whatever, man, I move on. And then, because you kept quiet, you didn't say anything, tomorrow, there's a new topic about something else. It's gone. You see what I mean? But once you start on the Monday, the next Monday, they'll still be talking because now someone texts so-and-so from Cape Town, someone from Cape Town texts so-and-so in UK, and then it doesn't stop. So for me, I feel like I'll always keep my brand clean, tidy, and yeah, we always try to do the best that we can. You know, we're not perfect, but we try and do the best that we can. I think that's how I've been living my life so far, and so far so good. I'm cool. You know, I'm okay.
Yeah. Master G, I want to jump onto something now about money. You know, you and I have spoken about this a bit, but really about about reinvesting. You know, like I was so sad last week because I saw a post that you did. Somebody had broken into your studio, one of your studios in Soweto. But I know that you are a person who really reinvests in their craft, especially with studios. You know, you've just recently opened a new one last year. Why is it so important for artists, or for you rather, to be spending so much money on studio equipment, on rebranding, especially when it comes to your own music?
You know, thanks about the incident that happened in our Soweto studios last week, Monday. Yes, some guys broke into our studios, but we found them and we were able to recover, I think, 90 to 95% of the equipment that was stolen. Look, I think this goes back to the music business, you know, that you find a lot of guys that are talented, you know, and they're still young, and but they don't have that education on how to sustain their careers, you know, on how to make, you know, the right investments. Do you understand? And I personally think that in South Africa, most of us don't have that proper education in terms of you know, on how to, you know, take your career, you know, and convert it into business, you know, because the minute you do that, you know, it's gonna sustain yourself. Do you understand? So I think you get to a point whereby you've got this guy that is so talented, you know, and everybody's talking about them. They're trending and they're making a lot of money. But this is where the mistake comes in. You know, when you have money, it doesn't mean you're going to have money for the rest of your life. Do you understand? So you need to make the right investments. Do you understand? That will sustain your career. So for me, that one is very important. You know, and in case, because you see, you can't be creative for the rest of your life. Do you understand? It's just like a soccer player. You know, when you get at the age of about 33, 34, you start slowing down. Do you understand? So the same thing happens in the entertainment industry. Things that you used to do like easily, you understand that? You know, after about 7, 10 years now, they become difficult to do. You understand? So when you are at a point where you're generating a lot of income, you're generating like good income, just make sure that you make the right investments so that when things start, you know, slowing down, when things start, you know, not working for you, at least you've got, you know, other things, you know, to look at. Do you understand? So that has always been my belief that if I make $100, I don't have to spend $100. Let me spend $30, you know. Let me save $70. Do you understand? And next time, if I get 1,000, you know, let me spend 250 or 300 rands. Let me save 700 rand. Do you understand? And then it's another way in which you can sustain yourself. So you can also go to, you know, the industry players, like your legends, you know, like, I mean, there was a time when I made a lot of money, and I still remember I called Oskido, and I made a meeting with Oskido. I went to meet him up in Midra, and I say, man, look, man, I've made so much money, and I want to invest, you know. Do you have, you know, advices, you know, or stuff that I can do, you know, to invest, you know, like the money that I've made, do you understand? So for me, it's important, you know, to invest, you know, in a right way.
You know, just to add on that, I think, when was it, a week ago, we were having the same conversation when I was interviewing you, remember? Right? Okay. So we had a conversation, it was not an interview, it was a conversation on social media about, a question was asked, like, okay, when COVID happened, what was going on to your mind? And Master G said, I survived because I saved. Unlike some of us, we didn't save because obviously COVID came and nobody expected. We didn't know what was going to happen. And then it hit, for some of us, I'm sure for a lot of us, it was like, what's going on? But Master G was like, I survived for, even if it was 3 months, I was okay financially until, you know, after 3 months, you start getting worried, like, okay, I thought this thing was going to end in 3 months, but it's still going on. So yes, I think from that, I feel like, yes, he's right. Save, you know, save for that rainy day. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Period.
Yeah, it's saving and the right investment. You know, if you're not sure, you can always ask for guidance. You know, you can always ask for advice for people that have made it in the industry. So I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, definitely. When I start making some money, I know where to go.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't go Master G there. Kupa advice. But also, like, just on the real, guys, for me, it doesn't make sense as a producer if you're gonna be getting gigs and you're gonna be making money, and then still after 10 years you don't have a keyboard, you know, you're struggling to buy good monitors, you know. Reinvest in what you do, you know. And reinvestment doesn't mean you need to have R1,000,000 before you start reinvesting. You know, if you get R1,000 gig, think about, do I need to chow all of this 1,000, or can I keep 200? You know, later I'm gonna be buying headphones or something like that. I don't want to take too much time so that you guys have enough time for questions. So let's get into the questions by show of hands. Cool. Let's start at the back there.
I just have one question, and in terms of, you guys started a long time ago, and then what is that one thing, let's say if you guys were to start now, that you think that the new guys are sleeping on, they're not using this opportunity? Because I can imagine it was a bit more difficult to start back then. But let's say now, our legends, you are starting today, nobody knows you, and you have to go forward. So what's those tools or steps that you guys would think, hora, bafana ba robitsi ba?
Yeah, that's a good one. Look, for me, I think it's easier now, you know, to do this stuff because of you've got internet. We never had internet, you know, when we started doing this. You know, if you are an unknown brand and you've got a song that you would like, you know, to share with the world, it's easier. You just upload that track on the net, and then boom, you know, everyone can have access to that particular track. Do you understand? We never had those privileges back then, you know, and I think that's one other thing. Because I also spoke to Vinny about this, that, you know, a lot of us get so frustrated whenever our music is not playlisted on radios. I mean, it's not the end of the world, do you understand? So you can always do your hustle in the streets, you understand? I share your track with influential DJs, you know, share your track, you know, let your track be available for a certain period, you know, for free, so that everyone can access it, do you understand? So I think that's what I can say, about you guys. Maybe like you're not utilizing the internet, to its maximum. And I think from now onwards, we need to take advantage of that. If your song is not playlisted on radio station, it doesn't mean that that's the end of the world.
Yeah, I think I agree with Mr. G. I think you've got the tools today. The tools, everything is easy. It's easier now. If I had to start again today, damn, man, I'll be far. I promise you, I'll be very far. With the tools that you have, I'll be I don't think I'll be here in South Africa anymore. But yeah, I think because you've got everything in your hands. And sharing music, if you want to learn how to DJ, you don't need to go to a DJ school. You can learn online, So I think everything is easier today than when we started. When we shared music back in the day, we had to use the post office,
Yes, yes.
put it in envelopes, send it all over. That's what we used to do on CD. Right now, upload, you can send to 1 million people all at the same time. So, piece of cake. Cool.
Gents, Ninjan.
Voila.
Sharp. Ngizoqala nge-comment. Actually, thank you guys for being who you are, being humble. I know I actually send a lot of stuff to Vinny, and I know he knows my face, but he doesn't know. Email. I'm sure he's wondering who's this chili black.
No, I remember, it's been many years. You've been sending me music forever, man. For over 10 years now, I think.
Yeah. Even Master Chi, I know that you did help DJ Clock when he was starting, because I actually used to call him and he would tell me, no, Master Chi, I'm not going anywhere. So thank you guys for actually doing that for up and coming guys. And then to Praveen, I just want to find out, a few years ago, I noticed that you were listed as one of the defected artists. And then I'm not sure what happened. I just want to find out, why did you decide not to go through with it?
I think what happened then, because as much as they wanted me to come overseas every year, but they felt like I'm not releasing music, personal music, your own music, So I think Simon, what he said to me, I remember we were sitting at dinner, he's like, Vinny, you're such a fucking good DJ, man. I like what you do at the decks, but produce music.
Where's the music?
Give me music, and then, we can sign you. You can be one of our artists. I got lazy, period. That's it. But it's never too late. It's never too late.
Hi, Uncle Vinny, how are you?
Later.
Good. Craig here. I wanted to ask, since music has evolved from, the house music scene has evolved from the time of compilations that were very popular, say, late 90s, 2000s, and all that, like now we get music online, everyone's got access everywhere. You made the move from doing compilations to TV. What inspired that when you started Vinny's House? Or was it an approach from Don't Look Down Productions, or it's something that you thought, okay, let me go into TV? And then now with Tequila Gang as well, doing the whole YouTube thing.
I think with TV, it was something that I was talking to Don't Look Down about on the side, as a side thing. And seeing that they were doing the other TV shows like Hit Refresh and, was it Hit Refresh or Go? What?
Well, at first it was Go, yeah.
Go, yes. So, and I felt, we had a conversation and we just left it and thinking, we'll see what happens. And then they were going to speak to the channel, come back to me, and then, but it took a while until 4 years ago when it started. And it took off. For me, that was an amazing time. It was an amazing concept. Even today, it still kicks ass. Now, moving along to 2020, Tequila Gang. COVID-19. That was it. You know, I was at home thinking to myself, I'm gonna be home during the lockdown, not see people, not play music to people. This is not on, man. It's gonna be like a crazy time for me. So I figured with my friends, Otto and Jerry, we're like, you know, we've been streaming at our vinyl sessions almost even before, like via the phone, you know. And we saw the reaction that it's this thing, people love it. I mean, someone in Cape Town, someone in New York, they're watching. They're like, wow, you guys play beautiful music down there in South Africa. So we thought, Jerry, you've got the equipment. I've got the music. Otto, you got the sound. So let's put it all together. Let's come up with this thing. And yeah, we love tequila, so that's where the name comes from. That's it. So yeah, that was it. And I think, yeah, if it was not because of COVID, there wouldn't have been Tequila Gang. Never. So I think COVID-19, as much as it was a bad thing to everyone, but there were some positives that came out of there. People came up with lots of beautiful ideas. You know, people were spending more time in studios, making beautiful music. And big up to South African music, man. I mean, that kept me going throughout the lockdown. I mean, for the whole of 6 months, I was not buying music everywhere. Everything that I was playing was local. Figure that, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Do we have any other questions? Okay. One here
Sorry.
and one
Oh,
Kada.
yeah. Hi. I wanted to know, like you said, with regards to the technology that's out there now, everyone can kind of upload new music, podcasts from even their phones. Don't you think this makes the industry more saturated? Like there's a lot, so there's no space, kind of, or do you think it's still easy to stand out in this new generation?
Do you want to get that message? I mean, for me, what I think is, yes, there is saturation. You know, like Vinny said earlier, when they started, there was only a handful of DJs, you know, and now there's a lot of DJs. But there's also more nightclubs now than there were back then, you know. So it's not to say that the opportunities are equal as the number of people are increasing, but there are ways that we are not exploiting that we could be using to stand out. You know what I mean? If I'm doing a certain Soulful House podcast in a space of many people doing deep house podcasts, you know, essentially at some point you will stand out. You know, it does become slightly difficult, but it's much easier. When these guys had to release compilations, a record label had to be involved. You know, like a whole company with A&R people had to be involved to say yes or no, will this thing fly or not. But right now, I could sell my stuff on Bandcamp. I don't need a single person to be a middleman for that. You know, and how you differentiate yourself becomes your job to figure out. But it's doable, and it has gotten much easier compared to back in the day. That's just my view.
Yeah, because I've seen other podcasts out there. They're ranking #1 in the world, and they're in South Africa. So clearly, there's something good that they're doing. So I feel like, yeah, as much as it's saturated, you can come with your own uniqueness and be that one guy who stands out from everyone else. Yes, they might be doing the same thing, but I feel like you need to look around and say, I don't want to sound like that or look like that. I want to look like me, you know, and do your thing. So yeah, I mean, Bandcamp with releases, it's doing a good job out there for independent artists. So you don't necessarily have to go to a label. Go to Bandcamp, you get your money. Done.
Mr. Mandingo. I don't know what it means, but Vinny calls you that. Master G.
Mandango.
Oh, Mandango. Yeah, so the question to you. So recently you've released a song with Kenwin called Golden Race. So I'd like to know what inspired the song. What space were you in your life to pick such a... I feel like she was the perfect vocalist for that song. Yeah, what was the process in producing and releasing the...
Look, when we released Not So Far, I think a couple of years back. I don't know if you know the song Not So Far, featuring Mali. Look, I've always wanted to do like crossover stuff. I understand, like crossover stuff. I just wasn't happy with our music being played only on main radio stations like your Metro FM, your Kozi, Lisedi. I wanted my music to be played, go my 5 FM, your Highfield, your Hard FM as well. Do you understand? So I've always wanted to come up with that crossover sound that will accommodate both, radio stations. You understand? So with Golden Race, how it came about is I wanted that particular tone. I got like a tone yengamla. We understand. I wanted that particular tone. So we worked on the beat and then sent it to Kenwin, and then the lyrics, the idea, Golden Race, it's about Tina as human beings moving into space, moving into another world. We are the golden race. We are the golden race, and then we are moving into space. We are moving into another world. That is what the song is all about, moving from where we are now into another world. So that is what the song Golden Race is all about.
Cool. Oh yeah, I will come back. Let's go that side. Jazzy.
Sanibonani Makrutman.
Hola.
Gino Putu Vinny.
Hola.
Mina ngiphatha ubhoti ngoba kagugu. I don't know what's the secret behind that. Regarding our compilations, because mina ngikhule ngesikhathi whereby Krutman lami belikoleka ama compilations abhayi. I still have some few compilations, and that strategy which Mr. G and Krutman Vin, which we're using to make people go to the record bars. Because I remember there was a soul candy shop, front opposite, so a Carlton Center. You had to get a compilation in order to listen to a certain track. How was it easy for you to a track wherever you're getting from? Because I remember they used to say, Abeko, Uvina Geko, Ganyani Geko by overseas by my tracks. And we didn't know the movement, how you were going, because we will get a compilation and we were so surprised. How were they getting these tracks? They're exclusive. So now I just want to know, this digital era, is there a way which, as artists and producers and guys who collect music can do or can work the same way you guys were working, sorry to say you guys, and then make the same effort so that people can go to certain platforms and buy the compilations, because that's how probably you're making money on compilations, and it's no longer happening now. Is there a way you were using to collect music overseas, and what was the lead? Who was putting you on that lead to get those specific tracks? Because trust me, when you bought a compilation, you wouldn't hear the track on radio. You were forced to go to a record bar. You were forced to go at Soul Candy. Umbuso afike la party Funan boy. And then you'll be like, oh, you want that? Okay, Yagavin, the compilation week. So this is the price. And it wasn't cheap. So I just want to know, so probably make money from compilations and
I think, look, back in the day, when we started this compilation thing, it was about the tracks that I love at that particular time. and they were only available on vinyl, right? So I'll choose those 12 tracks that I feel that I love them. Every time I play, people love them as well. So these are compilation material. And it worked at that time. And if sometimes I'll go to a producer, any producer that I think will fit in that lineup, Louis Vega, I'm doing a compilation right now. Can you write me a song, just one track? So that's where the exclusivity comes from. I'll ask Louis to come up with a track which is only available in South Africa on my compilation, only. And I'll be the only guy who has it probably on a CD because it's not released. It was made for that album. Like on my last compilation, I asked LSG to write a song for me. And how many years ago was that? 4 or 5 years?
6 years.
6 years. It only got released this year, digitally. So that track was only exclusive to my compilation. So you can do something like that just to sound different, just to sound unique, to your point, brother. Sound different. Don't sound like any other. Everybody was doing compilations, but I didn't want to sound like someone else. I wanted to sound like me. So I'll choose 11 tracks that are available and then maybe ask one producer, Sculpture Music, write me a track. Give me that track for this, but don't release it. I want it on this compilation only because when they want it, they'll buy this compilation. So it's a strategy, it's a marketing strategy, basically. But that is not gonna work today, unfortunately. It's not gonna work again. Those were the vinyl days. Right now, everything is digital. Everything is available. So if it's exclusive, it will be that one track or two that I'll ask, Master G, can you write me a track? And he'll give it to me. But you see, that's one out of a million tracks out there. So, but that strategy we used back then, it's not gonna work now anymore.
Yeah, hey, I'm glad you asked that question. Being in Kuala Novin, and I'm charging I'll keep her. No, Vinny, my fellow legend here, was with House Africa for quite some time, and that's where I used to buy my stuff, you know. Whatever could work, so, look, back then you would have a white copy. You know how a white copy.
Labels.
Yes, like white labels, like it's a remix that was done illegally. You understand that? And it was never, it's called a bootleg, and it was never released officially. They will just send it to our record shops, and we understand that. So that is one of the things, like I have a track that no one else has. We understand that. And another thing is, something baby is limited editions, you understand that? Which Vinny was very good at. You will have maybe about 2 or 3, singles coming into the country, into a House Africa. Now, what our Vinny used to do is they will rock us in a party, you understand? And they will delay, reorder, you understand? Of course, what happens is they get samples, maybe 3 samples, and then when you get those 3 samples, you have to order maybe a bulk, man, like about 100 of them. So Vinny, they will delay that thing so that we don't get those tracks. Vinny was very good at that.
That was business, brother. That was business.
You don't understand? Yes. So, yeah, so you see, yes, he is correct. It's business. So like you are talking of that particular compilation, Gavini, whereby there's that particular track that you can't get a record shop. You understand? It's about business. Like they are actually forcing you to buy that compilation. You understand? Because of chances are, if it is available, a record shop, you'll just go buy that particular single and then that's it. We understand. So, and I support you, Vin, when he says this Gule era, that will never be successful because music is available everywhere. We understand. Hence I said, on the net, you have a track, you just, we upload and then that's it. It's gone. We understand. So that is what happened.
Mr. G, it was nothing personal, it was business.
Let's take one more question and we move on to the next session.
What do you? Actually, this question is from like yesterday. I didn't put it in a way where everyone was supposed to understand me, actually. So there's this trend about like mixtapes that like have been put out there. So I've realized that everyone, if Vinny can put out like a mixtape, everyone that downloaded like that mixtape wanted the track listing, so that like they can go there and like download like those kind of songs that are there on that mixtape. So I want to know like to kill off like that thing, sort of like DJs can be exclusive, not to sound like Master G, not to sound like Vinny or anybody, just to be like have like their own what we call DNA, like as a DJ. So how to eradicate, to take out like that thing from the mindset of DJs, to like go out there, look for tracks, not to like to sound like just like you guys.
If I if I understand you well, you're saying that people must be unique, right? Everybody must just buy their own music and play what they play. Or even if you make your mixtape, it mustn't sound like someone else. Yeah, well, I think everybody's doing that right now, I suppose. And yes, I see everybody right now, lately, if people are asking for playlists and track lists. There's nothing wrong with that. I'll share my playlist of what I played. If it's on TV or if it's on Tequila Gang, I'll share my playlist. But you can't ask me about what I played at the club last night. That I won't remember. I'm sorry. I can't give you. You know? I can't remember what I played last night. So if you're asking me about what I played on TV or on Tequila Gang, or if I'm playing now and you're here, you want to know another track, I'll give it to you. But there's nothing wrong with sharing playlists. I think it's a good thing so that people can go out there and buy, right? You want the playlist because you want to go buy. I think that's what you want. Unless if you want to go do something else, I don't know. But I suppose you want to buy.
Yeah, I think that's the whole point of doing mixes anyway, like to expose other people to more music. Let's get into the next session, but before, let's give a round of applause to our legends, DJ Ganyani and Vinny Da Vinci.